Hello everybody and welcome back to Asagao Academy. When last we left off, we were about to go on the hunt for Satch's missing books to hopefully save his job at the library. You know, to kind of make up for the whole, possibly I may be the one who thieved the missing boots, that kind of thing. So, anyway. Hi Hana, I'm back! My face flushed, cheery as usual, bounded into the room.
Hey!
How was practice? I went to practice for the Asagao Strikers almost every evening. Their first big game was coming up, and it was at another school, so I wouldn't be able to go see her play. It bothered me a lot, but I was slightly relieved not to have to witness the pyre of burning rage that was my playing volleyball. It was fine, but it totally struck me in the, what's all this? I dropped the duffel bag in her chair, surveying the mass of papers spread out along the floor with myself at the center. I didn't know we had to do arts and crafts here. I'm making flyers. Actually, would you mind helping me? It'll take me if I could read tonight, it'd be wonderful. It'll take me another few hours by myself. Of course! What are they for? She popped herself on the floor and took one of the stick figures I made. Some books have gone missing at the library, so I figured we could put up flyers reminding people to turn theirs in on time. Oh, missing books? Yeah, I kind of had an inkling of somewhat kind of an inkling, because, yeah. I tossed a few sheets of paper at her feet, then uncapped a glue stick and started attaching the images. Yeah, they've been missing since a few weeks ago, but now it's getting worse. But one of the books was just one I forgot to turn in, so I figured maybe that happened with all the books. Maya spiraled the stick in her hand so it looked like it was doing cartwheels. They can look up who has late books in the system, you know. Yeah. But maybe it'll help anyways. That reaction was weird. I have a feeling Maya has some, like, a whole library stuffed under the bed or under a rug somewhere. She grabbed a paper book and smeared glue all over the back. People do forget, so maybe half can be reminders and half can be lost and found notes. Yeah, okay. Together we worked through a pile of papers each. We compared handwriting and competed to see who could make the nicest flyer. I won, of course. It reminded me of kindergarten, and it was oddly comforting. We ran out of images of books, and I was just handing Maya a permanent marker to start drawing them when she slapped her leg with the back of her hand. Mosquitoes? Oh, shoot! I totally forgot. I left something in the gym. I should go get it. Okay, hurry back. Yeah, no problem. Odd, it wasn't like mine to forget something. Usually she only forgot something when she wanted to copy my homework. As I started on the third pile, I began to feel distinctly sad. Why? My hand stilled on the paper, a memory stirring in my mind. Back in Amaririsu, my parents ran a shop together. My dad created beautiful works of art, pottery and ceramics, and my mom filled them with the flowers she grew. He tried to teach me how to make pots, but I could never do it. I got too nervous seeing how easily one mistake could completely alter what you were making. Instead, one day he came to my room with a pile of papers. He folded them, and in seconds a blue morning glory appeared in front of my eyes. How did you do that? Smiling, he handed me purple paper and taught me how to fold a morning glory step by step. When I finished, we sat side by side. Mine was crumpled and stunted next to his crisp, beautiful creation. But he laughed. Separate, neither would be considered beautiful. I blinked. In front of me sat a blue morning glory, the cover of a book, sticking out of one petal. Slowly, I made my way through that pile of flyers, and then the next. The shadows grew longer and longer until they faded altogether. When I finally finished, it was after 9, and Maya still hadn't returned.
Yeah.
I'm done! I lay back on the floor exhausted and glanced at the clock. It shouldn't have taken her this long just to get to the gym. Is she running into someone? I couldn't wait up for her. I had to get up early. I cleaned up, changed to my pajamas, and crawled into my soft, cool sheets. Without my snoring, the room seemed intensely still, like the silence was trying to press itself into my skull. Ah, silence! I hope she's okay. The room blurred and I drifted off to sleep. Ah, that's wonderful. I would not be able to... I have a hard time sleeping with someone who's snoring all the time, so I would just be like, yay, thank you! What? What was happening? I couldn't see. My eyes wouldn't stay open. So late. She closed the door and tiptoed over to her desk. She was being so damn loud. I turned over, vaguely angry. Too tired. Want to sleep. The rustling of paper echoed from her side of the room. Quiet. The drawer shut. Mai climbed up to her bed and the mattress over my head sagged. I glanced at the clock. It was past midnight. She only just got back? Something seemed wrong. School wasn't in session right now. What? I couldn't think straight. My head hit the pillow and I turned over, drifting off to sleep again. I smell a suspicious thing. Bright and early the next morning, I scurried through the halls, searching for Satch. I had to catch him before he went into class. There was no way I could show my face in a senior's classroom with everyone still hating me. I turned a corner and was confronted with a flash of bright yellow. Hey, Hana, what are you up to? Caddy stood in front of me, his head tilted to one side. I didn't know him too well. In fact, this was possibly the first time we ever spoke on our own. Hey, Caddy. Have you seen Satch? I think he was up a floor. Something wrong? Nope, I made these flyers and I want to give them to him. I nodded at the pile of papers I was holding. They were nearly as tall as my torso. Caddy blinked, as if seeing them for the first time. Cool. He smiled weakly. I paused. Is something wrong? He shoved his hands into his jacket pockets and glanced around the hall. I wouldn't say anything's wrong, per se. He trailed off, but didn't volunteer any information. Is it about the tournament? In a way, you could say that. He cast his eyes at the floor. Things suddenly don't look too good for us. Well, that's too bad. He looked truly sad, but try as I might, I couldn't hide my glee. He looked at me in surprise, then a sharp gleam entered his eyes. Don't go thinking it's in the bag yet, Miss Mizuno. We'll give you a right run for your money. If you say so. Giggling madly, I scurried past him and up a staircase. Fingers were starting to cramp. It wasn't that the flyers were particularly heavy, though they were by no means light, but they were horribly awkward to carry, especially up staircases. I pushed the staircase door open with my back and entered the third floor. From across the empty hallway, I saw a familiar figure standing in front of an open locker.
Good morning.
Aha!
Hey, girl.
Hana? I dashed to Satch and dropped the pile of flyers in front of him, heaving. Perhaps running up those stairs wasn't such a bad idea.
What's going on?
What brings you here so early? Look! I took a flyer and shoved it in his face. He stepped back and peered at the writing. Be a good date. Don't turn your books in late. What's this?
Well,
I made flyers to help you search for the missing books. I didn't want you to keep working on this alone, so... I'm getting slightly delirious because I ran up too many stairs. Don't run upstairs, kids. That's just a bad move altogether. Oh, Hana. He cringed, scratching the back of his neck. That's great, but... I don't know that the librarian would be happy with these. She'll think they highlight what a terrible job she's doing. Oh. Well, obviously she is, so... I stared at the stack of flyers on the floor, stretching my hands to ease their stiffness. Still, he leaned down and flipped through the sheets. What? Did you make all of these yourself? Yeah, last night. Mai helped me, too. Your handwriting is really nice. Thank you! My hand got tired at the end, though, so I'm not sure the ones are at the bottom are any good. He straightened and stretched, then stood for a while looking out the window. You know, I bet I can find something to do with them after all.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, if we use them right, they might even reduce the library workload. Happiness bloomed in my chest.
Hey!
That's wonderful! Yeah. Yeah, it is. Thank you so much, Hana. Really, it means a lot. I had to do something to help you. He smiled and reached a hand toward me as if to ruffle my hair, but stopped mid-gesture and instead turned back to his locker. Well, I need to get to class early today, so I'll be seeing you.
See you later.
Right. Well, have a good day.
COPACETIC.
I will. You too, Hana. Make it copacetic. He took the stack of flyers and put them in his locker, then he left for a classroom further down the hall. As I watched the door close, I realized he hadn't been distant at all this time. With a heart lighter than it was in days, I skipped down the stairs and headed to my own class. Time to make up the homework I didn't do last night. It was only a few minutes before my exhaustion began to hit me. I did not handle lack of sleep well either. I quickly grew grumpy and irritable, and recognizing this from an all-nighter I pulled to write an essay a few weeks ago, gave me my space. Aside from that, class went just as expected. The normal Boots boys avoided my eyes the entire period, excepting the occasional vomit-inducing glance from Shane. He seemed to be taking the situation much more seriously than the rest of them, and I had no idea why. I never did anything to him, and for some reason he was never fond of me, or my hair. I was a little closer to John and PBG, though. I expected at least polite contact with them, but it seemed difficult for them to even look at me. PBG especially seemed to be taking it hard. He was a kind soul, and I didn't think he'd be able to continue isolating Maya and me if he didn't have others to support him. As it was, anytime I accidentally crossed paths with him, he seemed to be fighting an internal battle. Flickers of emotion would pass across his face, regret, sadness, disbelief. So, of course, he ended up turning around and heading back from whence he came. He'd been late to class several times. Shouldn't they know me better than this? Shouldn't they know I wouldn't do anything like that to them? But what did we really have in common? A shared school, a tournament, the possibility of a shared hobby. Friendship meant different things to different people. To me, they were still my friends, but I guess to them... I was jolted back into reality as the bell rang. The chaotic shuffling and chatter of students filled the room in the rush to leave for lunch. PBG, John, and Shane left the room faster than I thought humanly possible. Any hopes I had hoped walking to lunch together vanished with them. Guess they didn't want to be in my presence any more than they had to be. Sighing, I zipped my bag shut, then I felt a hand on my shoulder. Luke and Ian stood behind me, gazing at me in sympathy. At least Luke seemed sympathetic. Ian was being Ian. It was hard to tell what he was feeling with a face as impassive and disdainful as his.
Hey.
What's with the long face? Do you really have to ask? Nah, guess not. I shouldered my bag in the silence that followed. I wasn't sure whether there was a point to this conversation. I just wanted to leave. You know, you don't need to worry. I resisted the urge to roll my eyes. Don't I? The normal Boots Club are great people. Great people who dropped me at the first sign of trouble. Look, I believe you're innocent, and because of that, I know they'll recognize it too. Just give them time. I mean, they can't all be as smart as me. He grinned like a proud school kid. How do you know I'm innocent? Luke laughed. He turned to Ian, who grimaced. It's time to go. You Comic Sans asshole.
Oh yeah.
Yes, sir. Luke followed Ian out of the room, whistling. I don't know who's the weirder one out of those two. I guess it doesn't matter, does it? They're both pretty hot. No, they're not. No, they're not, Mai. Is that all you think about?
Bingo.
Hey, I gotta have something to keep my spirits up in these dark times. And dark times call for drastic measures. I shook my head. Let's get going. Maybe they'll have lobster for lunch again.
Yeah.
Oh, I sure hope so. And back to... we just came out of Poppy Hall, my step... We just came out of Poppy Hall when Mai stopped dead in her tracks. There we go. I'm going to finish on that note before I just come out with Simlish for the next few sentences. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, let me know. Let me, guys... Really? Like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you think of this series, and as always, I'm TC Robson, stay obsessed. I have to go into my radio and... Really? I cannot say words properly. I need to go to my radio announcer voice is what I was gonna say, but I can't even say that. It's the radio.